Good morning. Now, be honest. When you imagine talking with other people about the gospel, do you really think of the gospel as good news? Aren't we more prone to think of it as uncomfortable news or awkward news or even weird news, maybe even judgmental or bad news? The gospel does have a bad news component. Someone said, while the good news of the gospel may not appeal to everyone, the bad news of the gospel still applies to everyone. So we can effectively give believers the how-to of sharing their faith. That's what the first Sunday of the month is for, the how-tos. However, we often struggle in giving people the want-to of sharing their faith. They know what to do. They know they should be doing it. They often just don't want to. How do we remedy that? We must cooperate with the Holy Spirit to build two convictions into their and our lives by continually asking and answering the following two questions. Number one, do I really believe the gospel is good news? Number two, do I really believe that every person is lost apart from Christ? To answer both those questions with a yes is a start, but these two gospel convictions aren't instantly formed in us. They have to be cultivated. You need to hear them repeatedly and meditate on them over and over again. In other words, the more we grow in understanding and embracing these gospel convictions, the more our want to will grow. That's one thing that I've done over the past several years, is continually meditate on those two questions. Do I really believe the gospel is good news? Yes. Do I really believe every person lost apart from Christ? Yes. Then that will eventually motivate us to go and share the good news. So what happened last Sunday? 21 people from 3 different churches were formed into six teams. 5 teams went out, and 1 team stayed behind to pray for those who were out and to pray for any incoming text messages. We prayed for and shared the gospel with 24 people, and I'll let Colleen share the rest of the story.
So Roy and I have been going to Edenbrook for about the last 6-8 months, and last Sunday the Lord had a divine appointment for us there, but we didn't know that till we got there. So the first room I went into, I heard a very familiar voice talking, and my sister Diane was there. And so I had forgotten that her mother-in-law was there, so I asked what was wrong with the mother-in-law, Betty, and Betty had real weak legs, so I asked Betty if I could pray for her. Well, after she agreed that I could pray for her, and then we give her a bracelet and explain what the bracelet means. Well, not only was Diane visiting, but 2 of Betty's daughters were also visiting. So I said to Betty, I really don't want to take up your time with your family, but I'm just going to leave the card and the bracelet, and if you get a chance, will you please read it over? And then I walked out of the room, and my sister Diane peeked out the door and said, are you here by yourself? I said, no, Roy and Reiner, I'm here with them. And so Roy and Reiner came, and they each gave her a hug. And I said, Diane, could I explain the bracelet to you? So I gave her a bracelet and a card, and I said what each one of the colors meant. And then I said, oh, I should have asked this first. Is there something I can pray for? She said, well, you can pray for my whole body from head to toe. And I did. I prayed for her whole body. Didi was kind of we call her Didi, was kind of cracking up. She was crying. She was very emotional. And then my husband, Roy, said, I have a question to ask you, but it's difficult because you are family, but have you ever given your life to the Lord, or are you still a work in progress? And she said, I'm still a work in progress. And then Reiner said, well, you need to make a decision now. And he told her a little story about how somebody was given a chance, I don't know if it was daily or weekly, to come to know the Lord, but continued to say, no, I don't need that. And that person was killed and instantly went to hell. And he said, are you sure you don't want to give your life to the Lord? And Diane says, I'm ready. So Reiner led her in a prayer, the salvation prayer to the Lord, and Diane gave her life to the Lord. And I tell you, if for the last year that we've been going out, if that would have been the only thing that transpired, it would have been worth every second. I am so filled with joy that my sister gave her life to the Lord. So as I shared with Bible study this morning, people say, that's not my calling, I can't do it. He doesn't need your ability. He needs your availability. He will provide the rest if you're willing to do his will. So, thank you.